Okay, so the recording is running. I'm not sure if this is what Aaron meant last time with the secret that I should be able to find, but I found one thing and I wanted to kick off the stream with that. Is this. The picture here shows only 3, but if you click on it often enough, it shows another one, Sheester 556, a weapon of the Sisters' Cavalry, which serves Pendragon. 556 was quiet and often teased, but she was loved by everyone, however her luck was always bad, and she met a tragic end in battle against the Black Witch. She was a cutting-edge weapon, unique in the Sisters' Cavalry, which tended to serve as honor guards. 556 was in charge of squad fire support. She shot not to kill, but to protect her allies. So, I still maintain that these are all refer to a Winchester gun and aren't actually girls with bunny ears. And there was one gun that actually exploded at the end of episode 4 in the hands of the person who appeared as Aoife, even though Aoife is already dead. I wonder if that was a Winchester weapon that would fire 556 rounds, which, as far as I have been told and also just looked up online, exist. Not sure if you call them 556 rounds or whatever, but yeah, there is some ammunition that has 556 in it. And, oh, now I should get rid of the text. Activate the webcam. Okay, it's more or less fine, I guess. And close the questions arc, because we're already on the answers arc. Oh, so that was what you meant. I was like, if this is not what he meant, then I have no idea. I can resurrect them, you know. Oh, fine. I mean, you can't just say that and then I can't not do it. Now I want to know. Come on. Bit annoying that it's random. Yeah, I found it so easily earlier. Oh, there. A quiet girl who's always teased by everybody, but that's because everyone loves her. The trumpet is a specialty. Everyone skips to a lively tune. Huh. Yeah, okay. Not sure if that was really necessary. But okay. And back to this. Start. Load. And here we go. Once again, all of those who had witnessed Kinzo's corpse were gathered in the study. I guess this is when they tell them that Kinzo is, that they're supposed to act as if he is still alive. Oh, hold on. There's something going on. I think somebody rang the doorbell. I'll be right back. Still alive. Oh, but murdered me. It was a delivery guy, but apparently he got the wrong address. Because nobody ordered something here. Nobody ordered anything here, and the name he got was also not any of the names from this building. Okay. Not a letter. So I'll probably just cut to here, and so I'll read this again. Once again, all of those who had witnessed Kinzo's corpse were gathered in the study. Klaus was still impatient and clutching at his head. Genji was as expressionless as ever. Namjo and Kumasawa wore bewildered expressions on their faces. But in stark contrast to all of them, Natsuhi wore a resolute expression. Dear, let me ask you one more time. Your plan for raising money is absolutely certain.
Yes. Give it a year, no, just half a year, and it will certainly bear fruit. But it's just impossible to hope for anything right now.
Then we will wait.
But you said it yourself. Father is already dead.
Father has not passed away. He's still there, as healthy as ever. When Natsuhi said this, everyone jumped and looked up, because they instantly understood what those words meant. However, Klaus alone didn't get it right away and asked her, You know, they have been claiming that Klaus was a very sly person, but right now and last stream he didn't exactly seem very, bright. I guess these are not his sly moments.
What do you mean by that? Father's already in reality right there.
I will say it again. Father is still in good health. He is busy with his research, so he'll be even less able to leave his study than usual. Because of this, we must handle all external affairs ourselves, so that Father can devote himself to his research without being burdened by meaningless tasks. In short, nothing will change from the way things have been. Do you understand, Kenji? Yes. The furniture of the One-Winged Eagle will continue to serve the master. Kumasawa, and you, Dr. Nanjo. Do you understand what I'm saying? Is that truly alright, Natsuhi-san? It may be true that Father passed away today, but if everyone right here, right now believes we can revive Father with magic.
It's impossible, madam. There's just too much.
The time of death will be made clear during the autopsy. We can't stop it from looking suspicious. Well, unless you burn the corpse. That could explain why the corpse is always burned. Father will not pass away, so there will be no reason for there to be an autopsy. Of course she wasn't planning to make it seem like Kinzo would live forever. The fake life given to Kinzo would only last until Klaus could repay his debts. After that, Kinzo's soul would finally be able to rest in peace. Nanjo repeatedly said that the time of death would be discovered during the autopsy, but Natsuhi kept saying that this wouldn't be a problem. Father will not pass away by being reported dead.
I see. He'll be reported missing.
After clapping his hands together, Klaus stood up, shaking his fists. Okay, maybe that doesn't explain the burning. I mean... well, maybe it still explains the burning and they just changed their plan because things happened. But I guess at this point in time, they decided that they would make him go missing. Or maybe they wanted to burn him and intended for nobody to find it, but then again, in that case they shouldn't have done it with a house full of people.
Yes, once we've managed to pay back the debt and finish our preparations for laying Father to rest, we will then announce that Father has disappeared.
Rokkanjima's vast, uncultivated forest was the perfect place to stage a disappearance. One day Kinzo would go out to the forest for a walk and never return. They would search for him without success, and then be forced to report his disappearance.
If he disappears, we can file a report of his death even without a corpse. In other words, we can hide him long enough to have him declared legally dead. What do you think, Dr. Nanjo? There won't be any problems that way.
Yes, that might work.
Is this really okay, madam? If we stay silent, then I'm sure we could keep the master's death a secret. However, if we were to slip up even once and let someone find out...
Kumasawa, don't be so loud. Father is sleeping right over there, correct? What about the other servants? Although, I guess if they say that he is super busy with his studies from now on and never leaves his room, then that would make sense. It's only Genji and Nanjo who are usually loud in there, if I remember correctly. Are you trying to wake him? It isn't a corpse. Kinzo is sleeping. As Natsuhi said that, Kinzo lay quietly on the bed as though there was nothing at all odd about her words. Yeah, but what about her? Come, try to remember. What form did you have? What sort of life did you enjoy? Once again, a storm of gold butterflies started to swirl, covering Kinzo's cold body. And now it's Kermit the Frog. Oh, sorry. That was the wrong Kinzo. Then after the butterflies exploded into fine gold powder and disappeared, just like those fairy tales that have been told over and over since long ago, Kinzo slowly opened his eyes and sat up. Father. So is she hallucinating now, or is this actually proof that the whole magic thing was not a lie after all? I don't know.
Natsuhi, let me first make one thing clear. I did not coax you into doing this because of my attachment to life.
You liar. Don't tell me you didn't anticipate this at least a little. How does it feel, Kinzo? How is your body?
It isn't bad, but it feels somewhat like being in a dream. I feel light.
You're a being that wasn't permitted to remain in this world, yet you still remain here. Don't start complaining about a little discomfort now. Is your body truly alright? Is it really okay?
Actually, it feels quite pleasant. If this is what the world after death feels like, playing the ghost might not be half bad.
How is this, Natsuhi? Kinzo has revived. That means a funeral is unnecessary. Your hardship has been resolved. Beatrice. As Natsuhi tried to find words of gratitude amidst her confusion, Beatrice waggled her pointer finger and spoke. There's no need for thanks. A ruler is allowed to be proud. I will not pay heed to requests, but I will follow orders. Even so, I'll say it. Thank you. This way, you've got some time for my husband. We will handle the rest. Be warned, Natsuhi. Kinzo may have revived, but that is not an eternal thing. It will only continue as long as my magic does. Be warned that the magic-resistant toxin might destroy the magic. It has been called the illusion of the witch at some point, so does that mean that this is, well, not, and basically this just means that they create the illusion, and it's presented as a dialogue between the three, but really it just represents that they created the illusion of Kinzo being alive, and she got the idea. You must understand the laws of magic correctly and work hard to maintain it. I can show you a miracle, but it is your role to grasp it and hold it. Of course, we definitely won't neglect the miracle you have given us. Very well. Yes, it would appear masters need to be changed out every once in a while, just like floor mats. I like it. I shall serve you. Ushiromiya Natsuhi. I am the Ushiromiya family alchemist, the Golden Witch Beatrice. Call my name whenever you wish. I shall appear and grant you a miracle. Thank you. I am Ushiromiya Natsuhi. I will employ you and protect the honor of the Ushiromiya family. The family conference of the previous year, October 5, 1985. The rose garden was truly splendid this year. The roses were blooming like crazy as if competing with each other. In that rose garden, Kinzo, Kanon, and Natsuhi could be seen. Oh.
Once again, the flowers have grown wonderfully this year. It must be the result of your care.
Thank you very much. The weather just happened to be good this year. Thanks to your care, the garden is even more beautiful than usual. Good work. So what, are they pretending now that he's there? Thank you very much. If today weren't so special, we might have been able to admire the roses while enjoying some black tea. Kinzo shrugged. Today was the family conference. When it came to the other siblings' businesses, none of the news had been good. On the contrary, those siblings probably planned to turn the conversation to the topic of Kinzo's remaining life and hold a quiet feud over the inheritance.
Those people are quite unpleasant. By the way, what about Klaus? Is that debt repayment plan of his proceeding well?
I would assume not, because otherwise they could have already called off the whole farce in this year. It does seem to be a realistic plan. However, it's a plan on quite a large scale, and it doesn't seem to be bearing fruit quite as well as he expected.
If possible, I would have hoped to have that resolved before today's family conference.
Yes, my apologies. Are you sure you're okay, Kinzo? Casually walking around in a place like that? Oh, sir, how had she gotten up there? Well, it's fairly pointless to wonder about that sort of thing when you're dealing with a witch. Beatrice was casually sitting on the roof of the arbor, almost as though she had been basking in the sun. Those relatives are like a massive lump of the magic-resistant toxin, and they'll be intruding in on us. If you bump into them, your soul will evaporate in an instant.
I am already dead. Evaporating would be no detriment.
We can't have that happen. Please, for the sake of the Ushiromiya family, lend us your strength just a little longer. Natsuhi, it seems the boat carrying the relatives has left the harbor. Perhaps it's about time to bring an end to this walk of yours. Is that so? Thank you. Please return to the study, Father.
My, how tiresome to go back inside when the weather's this perfect.
Don't grumble, Kinzo. Right now, you're nothing more than a ghost I gave life to. It'll be troublesome for both me and Natsuhi if you're scattered away by the toxin. Just be a good boy, shut yourself away in the study, and wrap a blanket around yourself or something.
Merely receiving the chance to enjoy these roses after death makes me an extremely fortunate man, I understand. I shall return to the study. But I would like some black tea. Kanon, tell Genji to bring me some. Perhaps some Marco Polo would do well today.
Certainly.
Then let us go our separate ways. Natsuhi, you must conduct the family conference splendidly in my absence.
Of course, father. He can't say it in front of them, but my husband is already the Ushidomiya family head, and I will do all I can to ensure that I don't embarrass him as his wife.
Compared to Klaus, who has had a stomach ache since this morning, you are so very composed, Natsuhi. My son is quite hopeless.
Indeed. My husband is talented in his own way. Not sure if that's a compliment or... I don't know. Supporting him where he's weak is my duty as his wife.
Indeed.
Those eyes suddenly...
Carry out your task with precision. I will make sure to stay shut away so that I don't get in the way of this farce.
Kanon, go with father to the study, and then have Genji prepare some black tea.
I'm not so senile that I need your help to stand up. Here I go.
Refusing Kanon's attempt to lend him a hand, Kinzo rose from the flower bed he had been sitting on. The retired head left everything in Natsuhi's hands and returned to the study at a gentle pace. You're looking well. You possess a sense of dignity reminiscent of Kinzo's deceased wife. On the off chance that the magic-resisting toxin does reach farther, will the magic dissolve in an instant? Indeed, in the blink of an eye. I can vanish whenever I please, but if someone already dead, such as Kinzo, loses his form, he'll be instantly tossed away like dust by the winds of the sun. You must take care. Yes, I understand. You may have talent as a witch. The magic-resisting toxin has been building up in your system over the years, and yet you are still able to understand magic. If you and I had met during your youth, you might have become a powerful witch by now. I am the wife of Ushidomiya Klaus, the family head. I would become even a witch or a demon to protect his honor. I am deeply grateful for the power of your magic. I wouldn't have been able to protect the honor of the Ushidomiya family without you. Let's discuss that at another time. I'd like to enjoy it with just the two of us women drinking tea. A friend of mine who went to Sri Lanka sent me some black tea with a wonderful rose fragrance. Oh, you mean Dimbula? That isn't bad. Then you should also have some what is that? Patisse on the side. You must serve me some as a reward if I manage to trick everyone for this entire family conference. It's a promise. Understood, I promise. Then I'll see you later. Yes, later.
What is pattis? Patisse? Pat-is. Patitis. The witch made her body crumble into the rustling winds, became goldflower petals, and scattered into thin air. Natsuhi watched her go, then turned on her heels and headed for the mansion. And then there were none left in the rose garden. Yeah, it sounded like something to eat, definitely. Huh?
Okay then, it's break time. Got any complaints so far?
None at all. If you have to pee, why not just go and do it?
What a rude thing to say. Kinzo's already dead, right? But he's walking around and talking, isn't he? Doesn't that mean this is magic?
Of course, I doubt this move would work on you after all this time, Ban.
But what about you, Bettler? Isn't this weird? Don't you have to accept the existence of the magic that revived Kinzo?
If you're trying to imitate Beato, it's pissing me off, so stop it right now.
Figured it out? Then come on, how are you gonna answer, Bettler? Kinzo was just out for a stroll. Why not act like you always do and start holding your head crying this makes no sense? Come on, use that old it's all useless catchphrase and then give me one of your classic nonsensical counter-arguments.
There's no way a human who's supposed to be dead could be walking around, right? Is this all because of some unknown virus called the Rokkenjima syndrome that causes mass delusions? Or do the scales of a mysterious form of butterfly that only lives on Rokkenjima happen to be hallucinogenic? Or is it all because a mysterious secret organization called the Mountain Dogs made an as of yet undiscovered drug called Puro Buro Pico Puyo which causes mass delusions?
Let me hear tons of this wonderful crab.
Yeah, that's interesting ideas. Just shut up. This isn't even a problem. Grandfather's dead at this point in time. There's no way he exists. The only reason he's able to act like he's alive like this is because of Aunt Natsuhi's lie, her attempt to make it through the family conference while hiding grandfather's death.
Aw, it's Natsuhi's lie. You can revive the dead by lying. Wouldn't that make it Natsuhi's magic?
This world is like a brown tube before you've looked in it. It's the world of the cat box before you open it.
As long as aRdW says she took a walk with grandfather, and as long as no one can confirm that it's a lie, it's possible to display aRdW taking a walk in the rose garden with grandfather as Natsuhi's reality. That means it's possible for grandfather to appear. That extremely unflattering applause was coming from Beancastle. Bravo. You're much calmer without Beata around.
Quiet. You shut up too.
Wait a second, Battler. According to your theory, sure, it might really be possible for Kinzo to appear if Natsuhi is the only person there. If Natsuhi claims to have observed Kinzo in a world with no one except Natsuhi in it, then no one can deny it, right? But Kanon was in the same place and he was also looking at Kinzo, right? How would you explain that?
Well, the servants have been told to act like Kinzo's still alive, right? It's no problem at all. Kanon-kun is a servant who works for the Yoshidomiya family. aRdW probably ordered him to keep to her story so that she could hide grandfather's death. Because of that, Kanon can see grandfather even though he shouldn't exist, just like aRdW can.
Too bad, Lambda. Battler isn't gonna fall for that kind of child's play anymore. Seems so. Well, this is nothing more than an opening before the game's really started. Like an aperitif before my meal. An appetizer at a bar. Green tea at a sushi restaurant.
Shut up. So we aren't gonna get anywhere unless I say it again in blue text, huh?
Looks like it. Would you mind?
The reason grandfather is strolling around like nothing happened even though he's already dead is that people who want to make it seem as though he's alive created an illusion of him. People who think the same way can share in that illusion. Then they'll talk as though grandfather actually exists and was with them until a second ago. That's why he's strolling around like it's perfectly natural. Because of this, the illusion of grandfather is unable to appear in front of people who aren't in on this with aRdW. That's why they made up the story of him shutting himself away in his study and refusing to come out. In the games before now, grandfather has always locked himself up in his study. We never met him directly. However, some people said things that made us think he was locked up in his study in a bad mood, such as claiming to have met him only a short while ago. We blindly accepted their statements and believed that grandfather was in the study. That's why it was possible for an illusion of grandfather to exist in the study. So what about, episode 2, where Beatrice appeared and, Curious saw her and then went to Kinzo's study? Does that mean in episode 2 she was in on it? That's right, in the games before now, the only people who met grandfather were Uncle Klaus, aRdW, and the servants. Because they all stuck to the same story, an illusion of grandfather was able to exist on this island, making it seem like he was alive. You even showed us a scene at the beginning of this game, where aRdW convinced Dr. Nanja and the rest to cover up grandfather's death. I'm not gonna fall for a cheap trick like that after all this time.
Well, not bad, but I was hoping for the unknown drug Puro Puro Pico Puyo.
There's no way he'd say something so ridiculous, right? After all, supposing that such a thing exists would be just as bad as surrendering to the fantasy genre, whether it's a virus or a drug on an illness. Anything that hasn't been discovered yet is in violation of Nox's fourth commandment. Those are mentioned in Virtue's Last Reward as well. I think it's 10 commandments, how to write a mystery novel. What do you mean, fourth commandment?
Nox's fourth. It is forbidden for unknown drugs or difficult to understand scientific devices to be used. The rule states that such things can't be used during a murder.
What the hell? Unknown drug X and unknown scientific device X should be the best kinds of weapons to use when fighting against a witch.
That's what I'm talking about. All of those violate the rules of a proper mystery. Supposing an unknown virus, an unknown drug, an unknown sickness, or an unknown XXX was used puts it totally in the fantasy genre. My condolences. If that was your theory, then it's game over for you.
Hey, what are you talking about?
You think you've been fighting in direct opposition to Beato. But that's not actually true. You haven't been in direct opposition. You've been fighting along with her from a slightly different angle. All this playing detective you've done hasn't been fantasy versus mystery. It's only been fantasy versus anti-fantasy.
I don't have a clue what you're talking about, but there's one thing I do get. It sounds like you're saying there's something wrong with my fighting style.
We're fighting to kill the fantasy known as the illusion of the witch. That means interpreting this tale as a proper mystery. In other words, from the very start we have to ignore any and all elements that violate the taboos of the mystery genre.
Ignore, you say?
For example, several closed-room murders have occurred in the games before now, right?
Yeah.
At every single crime scene, you enthusiastically check with Beata to make sure there are no hidden doors, right? Then that leads to a flashy bunch of red truth weaving together all over the place, almost as though that itself is the battle. I call that a waste of time. After all, it's clearly specified in Nox's third commandment. It is forbidden for hidden passages to exist. In the mystery genre, hidden passages mustn't exist. So if you want to interpret everything as a proper mystery, entering this whole debate over whether there are hidden doors or not means you've lost from the beginning, see? After all, there aren't any. As soon as you suspect that they might exist, it's already game over for you. In other words, you assume you can't start theory building just because no one's yet proven that hidden doors don't exist at the crime scene. That's why I call you naive and a failure at the mystery genre. You've already lost once you start thinking that. You thought you were waging a fight to interpret everything like a mystery novel, right? Then you've got to follow the conventions of the mystery genre. Not sure what's so funny about that all of a sudden. Well, that's it in a nutshell. Hidden doors must not exist at any of the crime scenes. That means any time spent asking whether they exist or not is wasted. I think I know what you're talking about. I've heard about it somewhere. Is this like the 10 basic rules for mystery novels or something? Yeah, that's right. They're the 10 wedges for drilling witches brandished by Nox, the peerless archbishop of witch hunting. Those are the true weapons with which to fight and defeat the fantasy known as the illusion of the witch head on. It's just like you, Byrne, to bring in such a troublesome weapon. It's the fantasy genre's arch enemy. So you'll deny the existence of hidden doors right from the start without even investigating the crime scene. That sounds more like fantasy to me. Lambda, who's in charge of the witch's side, is fantasy. I'm the one who's fighting her. Mystery. What are you? You're just barely anti-fantasy, doing nothing but dodging over and over and denying fantasy. You're opposed to absolutely everything, but you can't make any counter-proposals. You're like a politician from some country. Shut up. I didn't come here to speak gibberish with you two. Continue the story right now. Be quiet. That sleeping princess behind her looks like she's in pain, doesn't she? When you turned around, you saw Beatrice's living corpse resting in a chair. However, sweat glistened all over her body, and it felt like she was breathing a little harder than normal. She looked as though she was suffering from a high fever. Beato, what's wrong? Are you okay? What do you mean, is she okay? You sure do say some weird things. Aren't you fighting to kill this girl? We've rewound this 5th game for your benefit, but right now Ben has done a good job cornering her opponent and is about to break through the illusion of the witch. Her existence has been almost completely denied. It's only natural that she's suffering. Just now, even you smashed the illusion of the witch by saying there's no way Kinzo exists. Here's the proof that your attack reached Beato. This agony of hers. I tried to at least wipe away the sweat on Beato's forehead with a handkerchief. It's true I promised Beato that I'd let her die, but it was supposed to happen peacefully. I wasn't planning to make her suffer first. My goal isn't to make the sleeping Beato suffer like this before killing her. As if they had seen right through to my mixed feelings, the two witches grinned.
Dad only overheard because you kept yelling about the inheritance, right, Aniki?
It isn't my fault. It was just an unlucky coincidence, okay? He just happened to be in the corridor and heard. It was an accident, I tell you, an accident.
Could you two give it a rest? Just call it our bad luck this time and give it up. If you leave a man alone, his mood will prop right back to normal.
Hopefully Father's feelings weren't hurt so much that he writes up some strange will.
The relatives took a deep breath and fell silent. That reminds me that quite often it was later said that Kinzo knew of all the talk about his inheritance, but when that's only Klaus and Natsuhi pretending that he knows. I mean, they're the ones listening to everything, so they can later say that Kinzo was very angry about it and somehow heard it, when Kinzo's actually dead. The relatives took a deep breath and fell silent.
Hey, you can't jump around either, Maria. What'll you do if Angie-chan falls?
Oh right, she's here this time.
Sorry to keep you waiting. The boat is ready.
Okay, let's go. Won't get anywhere but complaining now.
We eagerly await your return to this island.
Natsuhi was sitting on a bench in the rose garden, looking completely worn out. However, when she noticed that Kanan and Kumasawa were coming back, she immediately sat up straight, regaining the dignity of the head's wife.
Did the boat leave?
Yes, it departed just a minute ago.
I see. Good job seeing them off. What is my husband doing?
He returned to his room a short while ago. He is resting. Since the previous day, Klaus had been almost overwhelmed by anxiety over the thought that Kinzel's death might be discovered. When the family conference ended, his wariness must have suddenly gotten a hold of him. However, the way he had refused to let even a sliver of his true intentions slip out, and the manner in which he had managed to act as though everything was normal, showed that Klaus's nerve was nothing to sneeze at.
How was it? Did they seem to notice anything suspicious about father?
Not at all. Ever time the rest were having a big ruckus over how the master overheard them talking about the inheritance, right? Wasn't their panicking just priceless?
Yes, they were quite shaken up. But Kumasawa, you really are quite an actress. The way you acted all panicked in the corridor made it seem like father really was there.
Kumasawa is quite talented at that sort of thing.
Oh, come on now. I don't deserve such praise. Ho ho ho.
I always have to give Genji strict orders not to easily swallow your stories when you call in sick.
Now that's just too harsh, madam.
You really did a good job. Both of you, as well as Genji and Shannon, will get your pay for a month worth of past vacation time, as well as 5 extra days just as promised. Consider this a confidential benefit. Talk with Genji when you collect your pay so that the other servants don't find out.
Sure, we understand, right?
Kumasawa-san, your voice is too loud.
Oh, not good, not good.
Good point. Let's leave it at that for the time being. We should all return to our regular duties. That's right, I've had Goda prepare some special tea. Tell him to serve it.
Natsuhi let them know she wanted to be left alone for a while, so she could drink some black tea in the rose garden. The black tea that had been carried all the way to the bench was the Sri Lankan tea jimbula that she had promised Beato, along with some however you pronounce that thing. Specialty, my specialty. Sitting on either side of this snack, staring at it curiously, the wife of the head and her witch could be seen.
So this is P-A-T-I-S. I just assumed it would be some kind of baked sweet.
Apparently Natsuhi, not realizing that it had a curry-like spicy flavor, had started choking after putting it in her mouth. To describe it in Japanese terms, it was like fried dumplings, stuffed with mashed curry-flavored potatoes. As a household dish, it would probably be pretty popular with the kids. However, it was something of a shock to Natsuhi, who expected that a treat to go with tea would be sweet.
Didn't you know? Jimbula always goes with this. Black tea always goes with cookies. Oh, but chocolate is good too. You must have sweet bean jelly with Japanese tea, although salted kombu also works. Chinese tea goes with Chinese dumplings, though I like mooncakes too. I'm surprised. You know a lot about various cultures, don't you? Well, I haven't been living 1,000 years for nothing. I've tried refined teas from all over the world. Perhaps you could call it journey through the world of tea. That does seem like it would be a wonderful way to travel the world. Before today, I never knew that one could enjoy tea like this. I will treasure this experience. I cannot leave Rokkanjima. This is the only way I can travel. What about you? I'm sure you've elegantly traveled the world like any wealthy wife might. Before Jessica was born, my husband took me to many countries. Before marrying, I never once traveled overseas, so each time was a fresh and new experience.
Sounds like you were also born into a very rigid family.
It was strict, but they gave me a wonderful upbringing. It would be rude to my father and mother to call that rigid. That's a pretty eloquent way to call it rigid.
Klaus might have pitied Natsuhi, or he might have wanted to take her away from the rigid Ushiromiya family for a little bit and let her rest, or he might simply have wanted to take his wife around countries he knew well to show off everything he knew. Or maybe everything. Maybe a bit of Liz. Yeah, maybe a little bit of everything.
Unlike father, my husband is fond of Asian nations. Hong Kong, Taiwan, Korea, Thailand. I think we also went to Malaysia. That Klaus, was he trying to rebel against Kenzo's Western tastes? But Asia is good too. After all, the Japanese are strongly influenced by the West. When they think of foreign countries, only Western ones come to mind, but you mustn't forget the East. I myself knew a few things about the West, but I knew very little about the East. I seem to recall my husband making fun of me now and then during our travels.
Beato subtly peered into Natsuhi's heart as the latter grumbled that the trips had all been very tiring.
Oh. Are you listening? This is called an Areca nut. It's a popular luxury food item around here.
It looked like a small... Oh, did you hear that?
That was a good honk.
It looked like a small round gourd-like nut. Gourd? Isn't that like a pumpkin? Like a nut that had been smashed with cucumber wedged in it. At a glance it looked as though it would probably taste like pickles. I see. So I just bite it here? As she tried to bite the one her husband was holding, he suddenly moved it away. It felt kind of embarrassing, like she was a fish after some bait. This is called a peanut. That's what I am compared to father. I mean, you're not wrong.
Well, wait up. You have to eat it in a certain way. You eat it a certain way. Yes, you're supposed to bite it. Bite it. Chew it. But don't swallow it.
Huh? Even though you bite and chew it, you can't swallow it?
Yes, bite and chew. Don't swallow. And don't drink the juice. It'll make your stomach hurt.
I don't understand. Why would you eat something like that?
Think of it as something like gum. Chew it and enjoy the flavor. Then take the scraps you've bitten in the juice and spit it out in a paper cup like this. Or into the face of somebody you don't like.
Dear, the inside of your mouth is bright red. Wipe it off, wipe it off. Ah. Even her favorite handkerchief, which she had wiped Klaus's mouth with, had bright red marks on it. Something that's poisonous if eaten or drunk, and it makes the inside of your mouth so bright red. And having to spit something out after you've put it in your mouth, how indecent. Thinking this Natsuhi adamantly refused Klaus's invitation. No way, I don't need any,
This is a cross-cultural experience. What's the point of traveling if we don't do things that can only be done here?
Klaus kept chewing, ignoring the fact that even his lips were being colored. Bright red.
Father likes these too. He must have ordered them long ago because he used to chew away at them on the mansion's terrace. Although it seems he's stopped ever since you arrived.
Look here, Father, the person you respect even more than me enjoy this all the time. Look, don't be shy, takes him.
Oh, that's still Klaus. Look here, Father, the person you respect even more than me enjoyed this all the time. Don't be shy, take some.
No, stop it, dear. During travel, Klaus had the innocence of a child. He didn't even conceal his jealousy of the respect Natsuhi normally gave Kinzo. Just being able to see that side of her husband made traveling all the way to another country worthwhile. Yeah, it is interesting to see another side of Klaus. It did seem a bit childlike just now, but in an entertaining way. Klaus urged her even harder to bite it, but Natsuhi, undaunted, ran from place to place and finally yelled that he was being too pushy. Klaus was miffed the whole bus ride. What a child to let a little thing like this get him down. Natsuhi thought exasperatedly. Then a native tour guide in the bus took out one of those Areca nuts and started explaining about it. It had apparently been a beloved luxury item in these parts since ancient times, similar to tobacco. Just like in Natsuhi's case, it was starting to be disliked by young people and was becoming obsolete. Furthermore, it was treated as good luck charm in this area, and was known as a symbol for couples. Aww. How sweet of Klaus. She looked at her husband's face. He turned away abruptly, but it looked like his cheeks had gotten a little red. Aw, what a cute little Klaus. I just want to pinch him and pet his head. So, you then leaned on your husband and held his hand, did you? What the heck, you and your husband share pretty pure love, don't you? Did you get all fired up? You know, like that night? Red-faced and avoiding Beato's eye, Natsuhi tried to hide her embarrassment by swallowing the petite's whole. Yeah, that night she swallowed something else. Chewing with her cheeks puffed out like a blowfish. Beato said, "Yep, this is the best snack around anyone gonna have with tea." Claudia nodded several times, a broad smile on her face. Klausi Mausi. However, that's only how it was when we were newlyweds. Right now, I cannot even leave Rokkanjima. I'm a bird in a cage. Well, it's the same for me. I can keep dying, but I just can't escape Rokkanjima. I'm also a bird in a cage. I don't know much about you and I won't pry. However, I do see that you face circumstances not to be taken lightly. I have no desire to act like the chief prisoner here. Let's be friendly as fellow birds in this cage. I've taken a liking to you. Really? Thank you. The instructions and orders you gave the servants for this family conference were superb. You took everything from where Kinzo would be and when, what he did and what he left behind. where Kinzo would be and when, what he did and what he left behind, and put it all together splendidly without any contradictions. The detailed written plan of yours had the same beauty as a high-level magic circle. To make it look like Kinzo actually existed and was living life his own way, she had written his schedule for the day down to the finest detail and made the servants follow it to the letter. That's a good idea. I mean, if you have the servants, like if everybody's in the dining hall, for example, but you have one of the servants be like, oh, it's time to bring Kinzo some tea, or maybe they're like, oh, I think I just heard Kinzo call for me, or something like stuff like that. It's definitely going to make it more believable to everybody else. So I think that explains also why all the other siblings fell for it. At least this year they did. When did he meet whom and where, and what did he leave them? When did he do what and where, and what changed? It sounds like kind of like fun writing a plan like that and acting it all out. Not gonna lie. As a result, even though the relatives never saw Kinzo even once, they hadn't suspected in the slightest that he hadn't been there. Eva and the rest truly believed that Kinzo had just happened to be walking through the hall when he heard them talking about the inheritance and went into a rage. Everything had gone just as Natsuhi's plan had predicted, down to the finest detail, and the cooperation by the servants had also worked smoothly down to the finest detail. We had to stop the secret from getting out no matter the cost. That's why I double-checked the plan thoroughly. Your willpower and attention to detail summons success with certainty, as of which it seems that you're in Lady Lambda Delta's camp. At your current level, as soon as you become self-aware of that as magic, you will be worthy of calling yourself a witch apprentice. If you call something like that magic, then that would make Kuma-sama the witch. That's a good one. The witch of faint illnesses. It's only on busy days that she calls us to say she's taking the day off because of her bad back. Like every year's family conference, for example. Oh no, you've got Kuma-sama completely wrong there. She is a witch of a much, much higher level. If you knew what she really was, it'd shock you. Oh, if she truly is Vigilia. Vigizzle. Now what? Watching these two have their pleasant chat was another pair with steam rising from their black tea. However, this second pair was in a world that the first couldn't see, where golden roses bloomed. Aranov was kind enough to make her some of that Jimbala tea, too. It felt as though Beato muttered something. For the first time, it felt as though something had gotten through to her. Surely she had taken an interest in the black tea and felt like drinking it. Thinking this, Battler took Beato's cup in her hand, making her hold the cup. Beato's eyes trembled sadly, and her fingers shook, almost as though she couldn't even move her fingers as she wanted to, and was mourning the fact that she could no longer enjoy the tea she had once loved by her own power. That's how she looked. So Battler put his hand on Beato's, grabbed hold of the teacup, and lifted it to her lips. Then, though it was only a single mouthful, Beato sipped. The days they had been locked in a killing fest with red swords and blue wedges already seemed like the distant past. Now not only was Beato unable to do that, it was even difficult for her to make her body do as she pleased. Even just drinking a mouthful of black tea like this was hard. How is it? That rose aroma makes for a great black tea. Do you like it? Of course, Beato didn't respond. What happened to you? Is this another strategy? Are you pretending to be in a slum so you can shock me later? If that's what you're after, the same trick won't work again, so give it a rest. I can't get fired up with you like this. Hey, isn't it about time for you to start laughing loudly, saying "caught you dumbass" or something? Any kind of joke stops being funny if you drag it out too much, especially if it's a rehash. Laugh, just like you're cackling over there as you drink with Natsuhi. Can't you at least grin? Never again. This child will never laugh again. Those sudden words were exceedingly cruel. Who is it? Of course it's her. How can you say that for sure? Don't you try to take Beato's right to laugh away from her. Oh, should I say it in red then? I shook my head furiously. Then, with an expression that didn't reveal her thoughts in the slightest, Bianca still spoke while looking at Beato's face, and the word she used was completely incomprehensible to me. Congratulations. But, for what? Beato is like this as a result of your victory. What are you talking about? You said something interesting in a previous game. You said this would be torture where you both torment each other. That was right. It's torture for Beato as well, and you won that torture game. That's why Beato's soul was killed, why she became a doll-like corpse. Are you saying I did this to Beato? The battle ends when one of you loses the will to try and win. As far as the battle between you and Beato goes, that was already concluded in the previous game. So why are we still here? Well, it probably happened without you noticing, though. In that case, why hasn't the... Yeah, exactly. Why hasn't the game ended if I've already run? Why is this game still continuing? Can you please let me go now? The shackle attached to that girl's ankle. That's a rule Lambda made. Even if Beatrice tries to yield or gets discouraged or gives up, she isn't capable of stepping down from the game. That's the rule. Or maybe it's a curse. In the past, I supported you when it looked like you were gonna give in, though you probably couldn't perceive it. I assisted you by giving you hints and making things go your way. That's why you're able to be here now. Remember? Remember how I saved you? Bancastle stared at me. It's true, I wasn't aware of it. But just maybe, I was saved by her. I guess at the end of episode 2. In the same way, Lambda is supporting Beato. And this time Beato is on the verge of giving in. That's why Lambda has been giving her support this round, to keep her from giving in. That's what the shackle is. By refusing to let her resign, she's rescued Beato with this game. Within the game.
Rescued her from what?
Normally, there are only two ways for this game to end. Either one side will accept defeat and resign, or one side will win the game with a checkmate. Beato was about to collide with the first way. That's why Lambda crushed that chance and managed to just barely avoid losing. By the rules of this game, that's an impressive bit of support. So the only way this game can end now is if I win. At the very least, until I do win, this witch called Lambda Delta can probably try to buy time for Beato to make a comeback, but that'll just prolong Beato's suffering even more. Neither of us want that. Both Beato and I fought with all we had, trying to win. The game repeated several times because we were both giving it everything we could muster. Then that one time, we confronted each other head-on with all of our strength, and Beato acknowledged her loss. She said she wanted me to end this game and entrusted everything to me. So Berncastle's words are the truth. She said it's my fault Beato has become a living corpse. That's true, but it's something both of us wanted. Our match has already been resolved. Even so, the game would end. That's why Beato put her trust in me. She told me to win quickly and end this game. Now that the game has been resolved, letting it continue any further means endless torture for Beato. Nothing more than a nightmare. I've got to give her a perfect checkmate, end this game in the truest sense, and let her rest in peace. For that reason, I'll keep fighting. But by continuing the game, Beato's eternal torture will continue. It felt as though I could only let her sleep peacefully by slowly strangling her to death. I'm starting to feel like truth doesn't matter anymore. As long as Beato is satisfied, who cares what happens in the game? Beato resigned. I'll abandon the truth of the illusion of the witch and return home with my family. Is there anything wrong with that? If only Lambda Delta hadn't placed the curse of that shackle on her, this battle would be over already. That's why I found it detestable. This game, which I can't finish without tormenting Beato more, is detestable. What's this? Beato's starting to look like she's in pain every time you get closer to the truth, so you're suddenly going easy on her. Then go easy on her as much as you can, and why don't you just let Beato win while you're at it? Then your little sister can have a lonely, tragic future forced on her endlessly. That's not how it is. That's right. I have to return for Angie's sake as well. I know this isn't the time to start feeling compassion for Beato. In that case, make sure you kill her. Kill this witch without fail. It could actually have been, like if... I don't know how this whole meta place works, but if Lambda Delta was also the one who gave Beato her new, like her new appearance, it could have been on purpose to, like, instill compassion in Battler so he goes easy on her. If you know what I mean? Kill this witch without fail. Even though Beato was right there. I mean, I don't know how much Lambda Delta is able to control the reality of Battler is seeing here, you know, but if maybe she somehow caused Beato on purpose to look so pitiful, so Battler won't go as hard on her anymore. I mean, whatever. Even though Beato was right there, Berncastle spoke without holding back. Your goal is to kill this woman. In the last game, you said it at Beato's request. You said, I'll kill you. Yeah, that may be true, but that doesn't mean you get to complain about it. Did you know? When you tear one of your fingernails out, it's better to do it in one go. You know, it's not like I ever wanted to think about that, so why would you even... How would I know? Pulling it out like you do, timidly, twisting and slow, hurts much, much more. What you're doing sounds much more like torture to me.
That's not something you would usually start with, did you know? I don't think that's an experience many people would know.
If you have any compassion, kill her all at once. That's how killing works.
That's none of your damn business. I'm the one who gets to decide how to perform her last rites. You and that Lambda Delta witch have nothing to do with this. I'll kill her. I won't let anyone else do it.
As long as you don't lose that willpower, I'm betting on you, okay? Make sure you don't forget. Unless this game is resolved, you will never be released. You won't be allowed to abandon this game either.
I get it.
I know what Lambda is after. She wants to make you lose your will to fight just like Beato. To make you a pair of living dolls to keep this world in perpetual equilibrium. You don't want that, do you? I wouldn't like it either.
Why should I give a damn about what you want?
Still, I won't throw this game away. I won't abandon my responsibility to fight against Beato. I'm glad our goals are the same. So you'll be able to kill this child without any hesitation, right?
That's right.
I have no way of knowing whether those words eased her pain or hurt her, but I can tell by the dull tingling in my chest that I surely believe I've hurt her. I have no way of knowing what the silent Beato feels. If I think I've hurt her, does that mean she's actually been hurt? And if I didn't think I had hurt her, would that mean no one's gotten hurt because of me? So, about that Beato who's drinking tea over there with Natsuhi, you can handle that, right?
Yeah, no problem.
It's the same as it was with Kinzo. Beatrice doesn't exist. This is a fake illusion of a witch that Natsuhi created, since she believes she was borrowing a witch's power when she thought of a brilliant plan to overcome hardship. It only looks like they're drinking together because Lambda Delta, who's the game master and the one telling the story, interpreted it that way. If you could stare at this scene without a fragment of love for Natsuhi, you wouldn't see an illusion like that. That's why with my eyes, all I can see is Natsuhi all alone, drinking her tea in silence. Without love, it cannot be seen. Because love is lacking, it cannot be seen. You're looking at a daydream Natsuhi is showing us. Beatrice doesn't exist there.
Ugh. Beato mumbled softly. It was a small voice that made it sound like she was in pain. The thorn of Bernkastel's truth had stabbed into her chest.
Yeah, that's probably true. I think your theory is right. But don't say that in front of Beato. It doesn't matter where I say it. This is Beato's world we're in. Also, it's not like I'm protecting Beato, but it's still possible Natsuhi really is drinking tea with some unknown person X who calls themselves Beatrice. This scene takes place a year before everything. The number of people on the island on this day has never been shown with the red truth. Sure, even Lambda hasn't said anything red about the number of people on Mount Kanjima this day. In that case, it's possible for Natsuhi to claim that she really did drink tea with a woman calling herself Beatrice, just like I can't deny your theory, you can't deny mine. That means you can't say for sure whether the Beato there is an illusion or not. Oh, is this catbox theory? That might have worked on Beato, but it won't work on me. Why not? After all, Natsuhi is drinking tea all by herself right there. There was a violent sound of glass breaking. Beato and the Beato who laughed happily and cracked jokes about Natsuhi's newlywed years was erased. A lonely wind blew, and the one person who remained on the bench drinking tea with a tired expression was Aunt Natsuhi all by herself. Beato groaned. I could see clearly that she was in anguish. Another illusion of the witch had been smashed, drawing Beato towards death. In short, this is what the battle to let Beato rest in peace is all about. A second ago, Bernkastel likened her refined to the torture of tearing fingernails out. If I have to tear them out anyway, then my last bit of compassion towards Beato should be to minimize that pain. In other words, even if I want to minimize her pain, I still have to cause it. I have to accept that look of anguish on her face. And at the same time, I realized what a merciless thing the Red Truth was. Right now in this rose garden, there's no one except Aunt Natsuhi. In other words, there are no observers except for Aunt Natsuhi. So if that lone observer were to say that she had had some tea with Beato, no one should be able to refute that. If there's something no one can deny, doesn't that mean it's truth? And no, they're not going to watch House of the Thousand Corpses. Natsuhi is enjoying the the roses and drinking tea together with Beato. How could anyone have the right to mercilessly trample that pleasant moment? The red truth is like a blade. In a battle with a witch, it's a blade that sometimes tears your theories apart, but sometimes it becomes a weapon you can fight back with. I know. So what? Don't use it without reason. A blade is a tool if you use it when you're supposed to, but it's a weapon if you use it out of malice. True enough, Natsuhi wasn't really drinking tea with a witch. Whoever saying that with the red truth probably has nothing to do with our game. Our game is the tale of October 1986. The 2 days of the crime give us more than enough time to injure each other with our red and blue blades glistening. This isn't about the illusion of the witch. It's about Natsuhi's privacy. How could anyone have the right to expose that? Do you want to acknowledge that a witch actually existed here and drank tea with Natsuhi? Or are you trying to deny the existence of witches? That's right, if we're talking about our game, the 2-day period from October 5th to October 4th to October 5th of 1986, but I have no desire to question whether or not witches exist outside that game board. In the first place, the devil's proof argument makes it impossible to deny the existence of witches. And according to the rules of this game, saying something like what you did in red is a forbidden move that leads to a stalemate. You can't deny the existence of witches, not even with the red truth. True. I never thought I'd hear you talk so glibly about witches existing. Not bad, Lambda. You've done a good job getting Battler stuck between his human culprit theory and the idea that witches existed and wouldn't be so bad. She really excels at controlling human hearts. Looks like I'd better start helping you out even more. I really couldn't care less about you two. Disappear. This game is between Beato and me. We're gonna keep this game to ourselves. No way. What? After all, I'm enjoying this game too. Okay, can you stop giving me the creepy smile? Your lifeless eyes are better. Bernkastel disappeared, leaving only that unpleasant laugh behind. After that, all that remained was Natsuhi sipping tea all alone, Beato her hands still in the teacup as she stared blankly at the surface of the liquid, and me. Bernkastel and Lambda Delta. Virgilia called them your friends, but you really should choose your friends more carefully. Seriously. Oh wait, maybe they actually make a good match with an ill-natured person like you. Beato didn't answer. Bella took Beato's hand, made her hold the cup again, and brought it to her lips. Beato made a quiet sound in her throat and drank another gulp. Then Natsuhi's lonely tea time ended. The truth, which was Natsuhi's alone and observed by no one else, had been defiled. In Natsuhi's world, surely that tea party, which had been peaceful despite her annoyance at Beato for making fun of her too much, came to an end and the two of them parted ways. However, in Natsuhi's exposed truth, she was all alone. Natsuhi tottered away. On the bench, only a single person's cup remained.